Welcome to Storytime Fun, boys and girls. We hope you enjoy. Today's story is out of the classic fairy tales book from Hans Christian Andersen and the Brothers Grimm, as retold by Nicola Baxter. And today's story is called The Shadow. Once there was a writer who went from a cold country to a hot one. He could not go out in the daytime, for it was just too hot. In the evening, when it was cooler, the streets were filled with people. Opposite the man's home was a house that seemed to be empty, yet lovely music came from it. As he sat on his balcony one night, with the lighted room behind, the man saw that his shadow seemed to be sitting on the opposite balcony. "If only you could go inside for me and see who is there," said the man. And when he got up and went inside, the shadow did look as though it went into the house opposite. The next morning, the man was astonished to find that he had no shadow at all. At first, he was worried about this, but after a few days, he noticed that a new shadow was beginning to grow, and by the time he returned to his home in the old cold country, the shadow was as long as it ever was. Several years passed, and one evening, when the man was writing in his room, there was a knock at the door. Standing outside was a very thin man who gave our hero goose pimples all over. "I suppose you don't recognize me," said the visitor, "now that I have become so human. I am your old shadow. I have become rich and wise since I left you, but I wanted to see you again one more time." "But what happened to you?" asked the man in astonishment. Then the shadow described how he had entered the house opposite and found that a goddess named Poetry lived there. "Even standing in the hallway, I found that it was as though I saw everything in the world and understood everything too," said the shadow. "A great desire came upon me to be a man, but I had no clothes or money. The next day, don't laugh, I hid under the baker woman's skirts and didn't come out until nighttime. Then I ran here and there, telling people's truths about themselves that even they did not know. And they were so grateful and so afraid that their friends would find out that they gave me rich presents and fine clothes you see me in today." Then the shadow politely took his leave. A year passed, and the shadow called on his old master again. "Things are going even better for me," he said. "Look, I have grown quite plump. How are things with you?" "I still write my books about goodness and beauty and truth," said the man, "but no one wants to read them." "Listen," said the shadow. "I feel like taking a trip, and I would like a companion. Will you come with me as my shadow?" "That's crazy," said the man. "Of course not." But the next year, the man became tired and ill. "You look like a shadow," said his friends. When the shadow called again, the man agreed that a warmer climate would be good for his health. So he set off with the shadow and stayed at his side all the time, as a good shadow should. At last the shadow and his shadow reached a spa where people go to get better from illnesses. Also staying there was a princess who saw very clearly. "I know why you're here," she said to the shadow. "You cannot cast a real shadow." "That's nonsense," cried the shadow. "Look, there he is. I treat him so well, giving him clothes and food, that he has become almost human." So the princess talked to the shadow man and found him very intelligent. Then the princess thought, "I will marry this man who is so extraordinary that even his shadow is wise." And she took the shadow to her own country. As the wedding preparations were made, the shadow said to the man, "Listen, I will give you money and a state coach if only you will always stay with me and never tell a soul that I was once your shadow." "Never!" cried the man. "You are mad!" Then the shadow ran quickly to the girl, looking shocked and pale. "Oh, a dreadful thing has happened," he told her. "My shadow has gone crazy and thinks he is human. I have had to have him locked away." "It might be better," said the princess, "if he never appeared again." So that night when the wedding took place, the shadow was not there, and he has never been seen since. Well, that's it for today. We'll see you next time.